What's up, everyone? Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, however you may be listening. Really looking forward to another family education and support group here with myself, Param, the host of this each and every single week. And I'm really excited for this one. You want to know why? Interesting you asked, is because it's a new topic. So it's something that I haven't presented on before. For those who have been following these talks, supporting these talks, committed to these talks, like Mr. Jim, who is always one of the first people on. It's something that I haven't presented on before, so it's just kind of, I do that once in a while to ensure that my audience is not getting, too many repeated material, because I do value your time, and I want to make sure when you get here, it's like, okay, that was a different way to think of things. So Leah, what's up? Debbie, what's up? Beta, what's up? We got a good crowd in the house right now, so that's good enough for me. And by the way, even if there was nobody here, I'd still be doing this with the same intensity and enthusiasm and passion. So yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate the love and support. So real quick introduction about myself, in case there's anyone new watching this for the first time. My name is Param. I am one of the individuals that manages an intensive outpatient facility in Huntington Beach, California, named Buckeye Recovery Network. I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. I'm also a licensed addictions counselor. So that would pretty much be my specialty. I'm also in recovery myself, so I'm no problem self-disclosing that June 13th of 2008 is my sobriety date. And I also coach high school basketball and kind of a little bit of everything in between, as I like to say. So all that being said, what these talks are each and every single week, again, if you're watching for the first time, is free family education and support to anyone, whether it's themselves or their loved ones who are going through the addiction process. What's up, Cataline? Good to see you again. And my intention is to be able to provide some education and information on various topics such as mental health, addictions, recovery, codependency, boundaries, rebuilding trust. I know that's what a lot of people are trying to do in this stage. And just understanding a little bit more about what's happening, because I believe that the whole process of addictions is a very traumatic experience, and it takes a toll, not just on the individual that's using the substances or acting out in the behavior. Good morning, Tony. But also, what's up, St. John? What's up, everyone? But also on the family unit. And by family unit, I really mean all of those involved. And sometimes they could be direct family members. Sometimes they could be friends. Sometimes it could be individuals who work together. It's a collective impact that it has. So this one's an interesting talk because, as someone who's a licensed practitioner, clinician, a lot of times individuals approach me thinking that there is some complex solution to the problems that they're experiencing in their life. So they're looking for something that's, just tell us what you know, tell us what you got, tell us how we're going to fix this. When in reality, sometimes I believe that the most complex problems in life have the most simple solutions. I really, really mean that. I think some of the most complex problems in life have the most simple solutions. Good morning, Mom and Dad. Always good to have you guys here. So, and when you try to break down, Lynn, what's up? Oh my gosh, got to say hi to you. Thank you for being here. Love you. I want you to know that. And if you want to reach out to me offline, feel free to. I'm just really happy to see you here this morning. I wasn't expecting that, and that really made my day. So where I was getting at with this is simplicity is sometimes something that we need in the most complex times. So the more overwhelmed, stressed out, the more consuming addiction gets in our world, the more we need to stop, slow down, and get back to the simple ways. And sometimes I love to teach through books that I've read, right? So not just the stuff that we get exposed to in recovery, but other books we read. And there's a book that I read years and years ago. And yeah, Lynn's here. I'm going to take a quick second here because someone just wrote, rest in peace, Ed. So, Lynn, if you're hearing me, I want you to know that regardless, right, I get up and show up the exact same way um, in this process because I still, believe it or not, believe in the possibility of human transformation. Um, Ed is somebody who has made a profound impact in my world. Um, Ed is someone who's touched more lives in a short period than human beings that I've known have been in the recovery world for a long period of time. Um, he's touched, moved, and inspired so many people to seek recovery and find recovery and heal. He continues to do so even when he's not here. Um, when I had the privilege to go to the memorial service and I saw 50, 60 people at the beach and everyone shared stories of laughter, joy, experience, how one human being made their life a better place to live, that is called legacy. Ed's transformation is the reason why I do this. And I know when you're watching all of these individuals saying, love you, Lynn, we're sending you love, lots of love to you and your family. Thank you for being a part of this community. These people are your support group. These people are in it with you. Their sons and daughters are Ed's. And I know you might not see this right now, Lynn. I know you may not feel this right now, Lynn. And if that's the case, it's absolutely okay. But I promise you that you will heal through this process. You will go through this process. And you will one day find the same value and meaning that all of us have found in the recovery healing journey of Ed. And if you're not there right now in this moment, you say F you and screw this and I don't want this, that's 100% okay. I want you to know that that's 100% okay. And my commitment is to be here each and every single Saturday, continue to doing what I did all those years that we've been doing this together, and until you get to that point. And if it takes you years to get to that point, I'll still continue doing this. The same support group will be doing this because that's what we do. You know, that's what we do. And I didn't have anything ready to talk about that, but I wasn't going to be tone deaf right now, having the opportunity to see you here. So if you want to reach out to me offline, you know, I reached out to you. If you want to reach out to me, feel free to when you're ready. And if any of the family members here offline, you guys want to reach out and give some support to Lynn, feel free to. This is what we all do. Okay. This is what we all do. And that's when this stuff gets real. So love and appreciate you. I want you to know that. And it isn't a day that goes by just like you don't think about it, that myself, Chad, and Keo don't sit in that office and talk about the memories that we have and how Ed's still with us and everything that we're doing at the Ohio House and Buckeye Recovery Network and everything. Yeah, it's someone else, you know, people are just writing some positive things. I'll get to it in a second, but yeah, thank you, Eileen, for saying that. You know, much love and light, Lynn. We're so grateful for Ed and you sharing. You've helped so many of us, and we'll never know to what extent, you know. Thank you, Parm. I don't know if I'm really genuine. I just it's just a lot of love, you know. And so you were there, Lynn. I don't know if I was going to lose you for that. Thank you, Parm. Love all of you as well. Thank you, Lynn, for being courageous enough and brave enough to show up here for your own self right now, because I know it's not what you want to hear, but this is exactly where you need to also be right now, with your people, getting the support and love that you need, because that's what we do. So I'm going to pivot to what I was going to teach right now. And I just wanted to make sure that was not lost. That moment wasn't lost. So going back to trying to find simplicity in the most complex times, there was a book that I read, and the title just grabbed me and just said, yo, you have to read this book, because there's something in this that just sounds a little bit too catchy and good. And it's this book by the name of the author is called Robert Fulgham. And the title of the book is called All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Okay. All I really need to know in life I learned in kindergarten. And when I hear that topic, what I think of is, wait a second. Is there any truth to that? Is there any truth that everything I ever needed to know in life I've already learned in kindergarten? And if so, if recovery is just another metaphor for life and healing, then Could I have learned everything I ever learned in life regarding recovery also in kindergarten? So it created a little interesting topic to see if we can come up with. So the book has about 16 different things that it goes through. I picked about 12 of them, and I'm going to go through these and we can see if how these simple truths that we learn in kindergarten, at the age of 6 and 7 years old, can be applied to our life today, right? In the recovery process journey. So the first one, it says to share everything, right? Share everything. That's the first thing we learn in kindergarten. Hey, make sure when you're with your playmates, when you're with your friends, share whatever you have. Share your food, share your toys, share your laughter, all that kind of stuff. Well, in the recovery process, aren't we supposed to share everything? I mean, right now, we just had a moment that was so powerful and profound that we just shared love around a topic of grief together. Like, we shared that with each other. And by sharing it, it doesn't actually make it more powerful or more big or overwhelming. It actually creates a little bit of support. What else do we share in the recovery process? Well, you got to share what's going on with you. You got to open up. You got to share. You got to speak. You got to raise. You got to open your mouth. You got to say words. You got to attach them to feelings. What else do we share in the recovery process? We share our stories. We share our journeys. We share our past. We share our fears, right? So share everything, my friends. There's no need to hold things in. And by the way, if your life has gotten better, if you're a family member that used to have sleepless nights and now you're sleeping better, if you're a family member that didn't know how to deal with addiction and now you found support, make sure you share your successes with people also. Don't just share the negative stuff. Just share the positive also. The next one says to play fair, right? To play fair. When you're a kid, they tell you not to cheat. They tell you to play fair. They tell you not to break the rules and all that kind of stuff like that. Well, doesn't that really apply to the recovery process? And what do I mean by that is this. Sometimes it takes years and years and years and years and years for people to get to where they are. And then all of a sudden, they want to find shortcuts and they want to find fast ways and they want to find quick fixes to change their life around. So they might not play fair. They might try to manipulate, take advantage of the system. They might try to force things in timeframes that are not able to get forced. And playing fair is something that we all need to do because cheating in recovery is destined for relapse and failure. Cheating in recovery is destined for failure 100% of the time. I mean, I'm not even thinking you might get away with it once or twice, but if you're not playing fair in your recovery, if you're not honest, truthful, something's going to give. The next one says, don't hit people, right? Don't hit people in life. Well, we all know this, but unfortunately, there are people that show up to places like mine or ours at Buckeye, and someone in their life has violated that thing that they learned in kindergarten, and maybe they've physically been abused by others in their life. Maybe they started to do to others what was done to them. Maybe they started abusing people in life. And hitting people can also be a metaphor. There's different ways that we hit people. It's not always with our fists and it's not always with our physicality. You can hit people so hard with the words that you use. You can hit people so hard with the way that you speak to them, right? You can hit people at the level of thoughts. You can hit people at the level of emotions. You can hit people at the level of physicality. But don't hit people in the recovery process. Don't hit people when they're not expecting it in the recovery process. Don't hit people when they are hoping for a hug, right? And these are simple things that we all know and we all learned in kindergarten. Yeah, there's a couple of tidbits Tony the counselor threw on here about the sharing one. Sharing helps the neural network to repair itself. It absolutely does. So the brain, he's talking about brain plasticity and healing of the brain. Sharing is something that absolutely helps heal the brain. And emotional hitting is the worst. So, and the reason why it's the worst, I've been on record saying the biggest lie that we've ever been told growing up is sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt me. I mean, what kind of bullshit is that? That words don't hurt human beings? Come on. Words hurt a lot more because the emotional hitting that Tony's talking about over here is, a broken hand can repair itself. If I hurt my leg, I can put a cast on. I can do some physical therapy on it, man. I'm okay. I'm running again. But when you break the human heart and you break the human soul and you break the human spirit, it's tough to heal from that one, my friends. So the next one that we have is put things back where you found them. Now, this sounds simple again, to put things back where you found them. But what other things are we talking about in life? I'll tell you this. One of the biggest challenges that I see individuals have when they're in the recovery process, they take something from their past, they bring it to their present, and it screws up their present moment, their current life. Sometimes in life, you just got to grab something that happened in the past, keep it in the past, man. Put it where you found it. Sometimes you just got to bury things in the past. And I'm not saying bury them out of sight, out of mind, because that's going to come back and get you. You have to process it. You have to work through it. And you have to come to the conclusion to say, you know what? I'm finally moving on from this. Put things back where you found them. Right? Put things back where you found them. The next one is clean up your own mess. Now, this is in program talk. So we learned to clean up your own mess in kindergarten. And in program talks, when we're talking about the program, is they say clean your side, make sure your side of the street is clean. We hear that all the time. Make sure your side of the street is clean. So when a situation happens, we never have control over the other person's words, actions, outcomes, none of that stuff. We don't. However, we do have control over our side of the street. We have control over the mess that we've created. Do we make right with what is wrong? Do we clean up? Do we own up? Do we take accountability? Do we take responsibility? Do we clean up our own mess? If the answer is yes, you learned that lesson in kindergarten and you must apply it to your current recovery. If the answer is no, you can have a messed up life and say, you know what? It ain't my fault. Somebody else messed it up. I'm just going to sit in it. I'm just going to sit in this mess just all around me. And to what extent? Eventually you get pissed off, resentful, angry, frustrated. Your expectations get all messed up. And before you know it, if you're in the recovery process, you're drinking. Before you know it, if you're in the family process, your boundaries are all the way down and your loved one's doing it to you one more time. Right? So clean up your own mess. The next one says, don't take things that aren't yours. So don't take things that aren't yours. This is pretty much simple, right? But I can also make this a little bit more deeper and profound. What do we take from others that aren't ours? Well, have you ever heard of the phrase emotionally stealing? I mean, there's people that take away sleep from other people. There's people that take away finances from other people. There's people that take away peace of mind from other people. There's people that take away serenity from other people. There are people that take away moments of other people's lives because they take and they take and they take and they take. We learned in kindergarten not to take things that don't belong to us. And in the recovery process, we must also apply that lesson, right? Every time an individual takes something from someone, whether it's physical, psychological, emotional, or spiritual, from another person, they are in the wrong. And some people say, well, it's okay, they gave it to me. Well, did they? If they did, maybe that's on them. But did you influence them? Did you manipulate them? Did you coerce them? Did you make them feel if they didn't do so that X, Y, and Z was going to happen? Right? Taking from others is something that always comes and gets us. I mean, in kindergarten, when you get it, because if you take a toy or you take something from another kid, the teacher comes, that's not yours, give it back. Okay, I get it. Then you teach the other kid, let's share, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, and you resolve it. But in recovery, we take from others, and sometimes we feel valid and justified in doing so. Well, you don't know what they did to me, so I deserve it. I earn it, right? I can take whatever I want from them. Because don't you know what they did to me? Well, shit, if that's the case, you missed that lesson in kindergarten, right? The next one is say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. Isn't that simple? You have any idea how many people have a hard time saying that? Because one thing in kindergarten we don't really get taught, because I think kids don't have the capacity for it. Like, it's really beautiful when a kid says sorry and I'm sorry and they apologize for it. But as an adult, especially in the recovery world, just saying you're sorry, man, that's happened way too many times before. So saying, hey, mom, hey, dad, hey, wife, hey, grandma, hey, grandpa, hey, coworkers, hey, boss, I'm sorry that I did this again. At some point, that tape is going to become very, very old. So sorry in the recovery world is not just saying you're sorry when you hurt somebody, is saying you're sorry, but showing you're sorry when you hurt somebody. Because showing you're sorry attaches to these things called actions. I can say I'm sorry all I want to my mom, right? But until I take positive actions in the directions to demonstrate that I understand what it means to be sorry, none of that means anything. Because a lot of people that struggle with addiction, sometimes they're even good with using their words, right? They can make somebody feel a certain way and be like, okay, oh, I forgive them. But then the actions are the same. So in your recovery world, if you know you've hurt somebody, don't get me wrong, it's honorable and beautiful to actually acknowledge your own shortcomings and say, I'm sorry that I hurt you. That's awesome. But that's not enough. It's just not enough. It needs to have some contrary actions attached to it. If anybody has any insight or questions here, feel free to ask this. I know I'm going off the top of my head, so this is the first time I've done this. And by the way, they get a little deeper as we move forward. So the first one started a little bit light and they get a little bit deeper, which is why I like the book. It started to stimulate my head a little bit. So the next one, it says warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. So I agree with the idea, but I'm not sure if I agree with some of the concepts of there. So in my idea, at least in my mind, when it says cold milk, warm cookies and cold milk are good for you, what I think of is maybe nostalgia. So what I think of is certain things that provoke and bring positive memories of like comfort and love and safety and all that kind of stuff are good for the human soul. So whenever you feel like you're spiraling out of control, don't forget the power of going back to something like warm cookies and cold milk to be able to just take a breath and say, it's okay. It's okay. Kathleen asks, can you please repeat the title and author, please? So the author is Robert Fulgham. That's Folgham. And the name of the book is All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. And it's also in the description of this, Kathleen. Thank you for asking, though. And the reason I say I'm not sure about the cold milk and all that kind of stuff, you guys know I'm a devout vegan and I don't, subscribe to that. But not saying I don't understand when people say they want a glass of milk and cookies. I just go with, almond milk or something like that. But it's the idea that I like of finding something you're rooted in simplicity to say, hey, let's just take a 5-minute break and let's just enjoy something that we enjoy. Let's have some nostalgia of like the easier days, the easier times, and let's move forward from there. The next one says to live a balanced life. Live a balanced life. I've done talks on this. So for those of you who've been watching this for a little bit, when I talk about balance, I talk about it's a circle and there's various parts of the circle. There is a physical component, a psychological component, an emotional component, a financial component, a vocational component, family relationships, spiritual. So it's like this big wheel that has various different elements to it. When someone says to live a balanced life, it means to make sure that each day you do something for each and every single one of those. It doesn't have to be a lot, but something. You want to make sure that you touch the mind, you touch the body. Yeah, Tony, for sure. You touch the spirit, you touch the soul, you touch the lives of another human being. Whatever it is, make sure you're doing a little bit about all that, because I've been on record saying that unfortunately in this society, a lot of us become human doings. We become human doings, man. I'm guilty of it too. Don't get me wrong. I do, and I do, and I do, and I do, and I do. And in the midst of all that doing, sometimes, what happens? We forget to just be. I get called out on it all the time at home. Why can't you just chill for a few minutes? I'm like, I got some stuff to do. And in that moment, I've lost what I learned in kindergarten, that you got to live a balanced life or else you're going to spiral out of control, for example, right? Not metaphorically speaking. So this next one says, when you go into the world, watch out for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. Now, I vividly remember this one from when I was in kindergarten, and we've all seen it. It's summertime, you're driving around somewhere, you see a group of school-age children, kindergarten-age kids walking around in a single file line. They're all holding hands. When they cross the street, they look like little ducks, getting ready to cross the street together and all that kind of stuff. And what does that really mean? What's the metaphor? Obviously, they're doing that for accountability and safety, so no kid gets lost and they all stay safe. But crossing the street in our adult life is also a metaphor. There are distractions, there are dangers, there are accidents, a lot of things that happen in life. And when we are out there in the wild, we got to make sure that we have people we're connected to. We got to make sure that before we get into an intersection of life, before we get into some risks and dangers of life, that we are looking all different directions. We're looking everywhere, right? And if we're too anxious or scared or afraid to go through a situation, let's grab some hands. Let's hold some hands. Let's walk together. There's I think it's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. Right? So if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And I mean, life is a pretty long journey. You might as well go with other people and do it with other people to see what happens. So what do we have here? We have the next one. There's only two more left. And the next one says, be aware of wonder. Remember the little seed in the styrofoam cup. The roots go down and the plant goes up, and nobody really knows how or why, but we are all like that. I remember that. I'm sure you guys do too. You're sitting in class and we got this little styrofoam cup in there, and the teacher puts a little thing in there, and you water it, and every day kids watch it. A few weeks goes by and it's sprouted into something pretty, and none of us knew what the heck's going on, right? Some of us still don't know how that happens, but there's some wonder in it. There's some magic in it, right? And there's a really guy that I like. His name is Jim Rohn. He's passed away, but he's a motivational speaker. And he says, I don't know whatever happens to us. We lose our childlike mentality. We just lose our childlike mentality. What happened to that? Because he says, if there's a group of ants outside, right? And there's a child there looking at the ants, and there's an adult that's about to take a step on the ants, and the child says, stop, 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 stop. I'm studying those ants. And the adult's like, what the heck is this kid talking about? Because children have this wonder into this world, this huge, beautiful world of mystery. What are these little ants doing? Where are they going? Where are they coming from? How are they? But the adult just walks by to the next thing, the human doing, right? So don't forget that in all of these moments, the moment we're having right now, when you go off to your day, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between, just stop for a second and just think about how cool it all is, how unique it is, how mysterious it is. What if this whole entire life thing, I know it's sounding like a little hippie trip right now, but what if this entire life thing is like that styrofoam cup that grows when we're in kindergarten? None of us know how the heck it's happening, but we just watch with amazement. What if you looked at nature that way outside your window today? And I think we need to do that, because what happens is when we get caught up in this world of addiction and mental health, and our view becomes really narrow, and it's just my life is so complicated. What am I supposed to do? When you just take a step back and you're able to kind of see a bigger picture of everything happening the way it's happening right now, and being able to show up in that moment is a powerful feeling. You get yourself back. And this last one, I was going to have this talk before today's conversation. So, it says, goldfish and hamsters and white mice and even the little seed in the styrofoam cup, they all die. so do we. And I'm not saying this obviously for the conversation that came up today. It's not, this is not ready for that conversation. This was something I was going to have anyways. But grief and loss is something that significantly impairs the lives of human beings. Okay. So I'm saying this now as a licensed clinician, someone that sits in chairs with people 5 feet across from me, and they have difficulties with the loss they've experienced in their lives, right? Whether their mom passed away at a young age, whether their father passed away, maybe their children passed away, maybe their, parents passed away, not even at a young age. Maybe just their parents passed away at some point, and they have a hard time with that. But in kindergarten, we did learn that thing that goldfish passed away. We did learn the little hamster and the white mice, and even that cup that was so magnificent and wonderful, and it just turned into something none of us thought it would turn into. Even that thing passed away. The more we can find peace with that cycle in life, with that reality in life, the more we can find meaning and purpose in the life that we're living. Because if we don't find meaning and purpose in this life, knowing that that's the end result for all of us, then that's a really, really dark world to live in. And I do believe that even in the darkest moments of our life, if we search and search and search, sometimes and search and have other people help us search, and we turn on flashlights and we do whatever we can, that somewhere in there is this moment, there's this little package that we open up and we can find some meaning in our lives. There is a book, and I don't know if Lynn, if you're still here, this is a book I've recommended a lot of times to a lot of people, and it's not related to addiction. It's not related to, the unfortunate events of addiction. It's actually related to World War II, and it's related to concentration camps and all that kind of stuff. But it's a book by the author named Viktor Frankl, and the name of the book is A Man's Search for Meaning. Okay. Maybe one day you pick that book up and you read it, and that's for everybody, by the way. If you're having a hard time finding meaning in your life and purpose in your life, and you think it's because of the circumstances or the situations and what's surrounding you that you're having a hard time to find peace in life, that book helps us say, wow, I mean, it's a whole complete different perspective on the human experience and what it means to search and find meaning. Because once we find meaning, man, the rest of this thing all makes sense. This whole entire world makes sense when you have meaning. If you don't have meaning, it's going to be just, you're on this little planet going a couple 100,000 miles in space while going tens and 20,000 miles around itself, just going. And yeah, there's been a lot of really good conversations on the side. That's all I had there. But I do also want to say something else too, to not be tone deaf for anybody here that may or may not have family members in Ukraine, even in Russia, family members in Europe and any of the countries around there. There is a collective anxiety and a collective fear in the hearts of millions and millions and millions of people. This isn't just something you're watching in the news. This is full scale, real, from 3 different directions, from air, from sea, from land. This is full blown war and combat. There are many people watching this from, at least I know from the Iranian heritage, that when they show images of Kiev and they show images of Ukraine, and it shows these big, beautiful, historic towns with these sirens going on, these air horn sirens, because the country's getting bombed. I know there's a lot of Iranians here that will probably watch those images from whatever news you choose to watch it from, and it brings back some serious memories, right? It brings back some serious moments in life in like the early 1980s when they experienced something similar. I know there's people in Europe right now that lived through World War II that thought they would never see another invasion of 2 countries, right, in their lifetime. And now they're sitting back watching in their oldest of years, right? These are people that saw the war and they thought it's okay now. And they saw all this progress made in various parts of Europe and walls coming down and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff, and countries breaking down into smaller countries. And they thought it's all good now. And they're watching this, and all of a sudden it's taking them back 70 years, right? 70 years, 75 years, it just took them back. And imagine what that's doing to them and their mental health right now. So, man, war is just not good. I'm big advocate for that, regardless um, of what the consequences, what the circumstances, or who the countries involved are, and stuff like that. I think we all lose and we've all failed if we can't find peace and solutions through nonviolent ways. And by the way, if we want to wrap all this back to addiction, I believe that addiction is a war with self. Addiction is a war with society, and it's a sad thing, and I'll finish with this, that a few administrations ago in the 70s and 80s and all that kind of stuff, they coined this thing, the war on drugs, right? The war on drugs. I want you to know the war on drugs is bullshit. There is no such thing called the war on drugs. Drugs are inanimate objects. You cannot go to war with an inanimate objects. The war on drugs is the war on drug addicts. The war on drugs is the war on drug addicts, right? And what do I mean by that is, if you don't have the means, the funds, the ability to seek out treatment, if you don't have excessive amounts of cash or insurance policies, or if you don't have access to healthcare, then those individuals, just like your sons and daughters watching this and all that kind of stuff like that, the other options for those human beings is not therapeutic environments with people like Parham talking to them and stuff like that. Jail cells, streets, 6 feet under. That's the treatment. So if you don't think that's a war, you don't think those people are out in war on the streets, we got a couple 100,000 homeless people, you don't think that's a war? It actually is, man. So what's happening in Ukraine and Russia is just a metaphor with what's happening in the world, and at least in the world of addictions, in my opinion. So, man, so many different. Yeah, Catalina, I assumed you would, given your background. I know a little bit about you, but I assumed you would be feeling the anxiety, and especially because of some of the other wars in that region that you've experienced yourself, and leaving homelands and countries, man. I can relate. You know my story. I know I can empathize, and I hope those days are behind us. We don't know right now, but hey, all that being said, what's the best we could do for ourselves right now, man? Stop going to war with yourself. Make peace with yourself, because when you're at peace with yourself, you're at peace with the world and all the people in it. Even if you don't agree with them, you can still be at peace with the people you disagree with. And that's all I got. So what an emotional, beautiful, powerful, I don't know what this was, just moment we all shared together here. And if there's anything I can do for any of you watching this, just let me know. I'll make myself available. Not sure next week. I might be out of town doing some family education support in person somewhere. But if for sure 2 weeks from now, I'll be back here, and love and appreciate you guys. I'll leave a little notice to remind you guys, but have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you soon. Okay. Take care, everyone. Be good to yourself.